Hi, friends, and welcome back to the Living on Lemonade podcast. I am thrilled to be back recording. The last podcast episode that I recorded was just over 7 months ago. And when I think back to that time, so much has changed. So today, I want to just kind of give you an update on what's been going on the last 7 months for me and summarizing it very quickly in themes. The last 7 months I took to pause, create space, and just kind of do an overview of my life a little bit, but also in terms of like business and endeavors outside of the normal like work and life balance thing. Really taking a step back, a pause, reflection, overview, and then deciding what I wanted to keep, what I wanted to let go of, and how that would kind of look and moving forward. Now, right around the time I thought it was interesting, like kind of a few months in when I was reflecting back, that right around the time I think it was like the day of the last podcast that was published, I started a 6 month like immersive program with my spiritual mentor, Marley, called the Spiritual Coach Training Program. And that time together with the other women inside of it was just, it's still kind of hard to put words to it. It was just remarkable, really, and magical and life-changing. I'm still It ended just the beginning of July, so we're a couple months past that now. I'm recording on September 2nd, and I'm still kind of letting it all sink in and just fully integrate so that I have the wisdom and the learnings embodied. So I'm not just kind of regurgitating them from a knowing perspective. It's like there's depth to what we learn and what we worked on over that 6 months. And I'm going to start to slowly integrate and share about it because I believe this work needs to be put out into the world, just as Marley has with those who work with her, and we feel the changes. We see it in our daily life, even if it's not immediate. It's just those small things. So I started that program end of January, like that day. I'm pretty sure that the last podcast episode aired. And immediately I just kind of halted everything, and I didn't have the energy to or the gumption to record, and I got curious about that. So I just decided I'm gonna go all in with the 6 months because really it's a very immersive program if you're into kind of spiritual concepts and healing work, energetic stuff. This is an incredible, like, highly recommend now that I've been through it. I mean, I call Marley my like magical unicorn. She really is. And this was kind of, I've been working with her for a couple years, and I feel like the work that I've done with her in the past was just kind of leading up and preparing me for the spiritual coach training program so that I could share, like, be fully in and ready for it. And then it really kind of created a path forward so that I can bring others into the work, and people can work with me. So I'm very excited about that. I don't know exactly how that's going to look further down the road with like private clients and stuff like that, but I can tell you, and I'll tell you at the end what I've kind of got up my sleeves and what's next. However, in the meantime, to kind of summarize, well, this whole podcast is about that. So we'll start going down that road. I actually took some notes because it's just been such a big, fulfilling few months, and I didn't want to go off on too many tangents, but to say the least has been magical, and I feel like a different human from where I was just in January, and that's how this work can change your life if if you really kind of just dive in and embrace it, embrace the icky, uncomfortable parts. So a lot of it was, how do I describe it? So through the program, we not only learned the concepts, but we did the work on ourselves because the best way to be able to teach others is to have it embodied and to have gone through the work instead of just telling someone how to do it, right? It's like when you've been through it, there's a depth, a deeper understanding, there's an embodiment piece to it. So we the women and I we had to look at some uncomfortable parts of ourselves and find acceptance. That's a big part of the work because you can't heal something if you don't accept it. Yeah, and you probably if you're kind of familiar with some of this stuff like shadow work and stuff like that, a lot of it was the shadow work, but really it's just shining lights on parts of us that we don't accept in ourselves and learning how to love those pieces of ourselves and to heal what comes up. So, I mean, I could do an entire podcast episode on just that, but just to kind of summarize. So, I wanted to be like full in on it, and I was noticing that the podcast was kind of, although I love showing up and recording, I I was just kind of going through a weird phase where it's just like I don't know what to talk about, and it was feeling a little bit like a chore at that time. So what I realized is just like I just need to take a step back, and I did that with everything. I took a step back with my network marketing business. Now, if someone wanted to put an order, absolutely. But in terms of like the front facing, creating posts in my community and stuff like that, I just stopped. Um, no more. I was, I would do like a month at a time and I would create 3 or 4 posts a day. And it was just, I didn't have the energy. It started to feel like a should, and I've been very, very aware of the shoulds and getting curious about them. So I just decided for the next 6 months or foreseeable, whatever that looks like, I'm just going to step back. And what that did for me is it gave me the room and the space and kind of allowed me to look at it from above with some space from it. So I wasn't like in the work trying to like, fix it or whatever. And I was able to just kind of start to step outside of it, see it clearer from a more like a observant perspective, and kind of, yeah, just see it from a different angle. And I really got curious about my intentions with things and why I was doing things, and if it was really reconnecting with my values and kind of putting it against what I had been doing. Like, does this actually align with my values? Does this actually serve my energy? Does this feed my soul? Does this feel good? Or is it taking energy from me? Because I have a full-time job. It keeps me hopping, especially in the summer. And a full life. I like to, visit friends and family, my granny, and it all takes time and energy, right? So I just felt at that point that this was the perfect time to just step back and just kind of look at it from a bird's eye view and get a little curious about it. And for me, the best way was to stop doing those things so I could actually look at it instead of like trying to trudge along and review it at the same time. I just needed that space. So I used the last few months to do that. Um, I haven't gone back to my VIP group too much, like my online community with Norwex. I post kind of the monthly things and here and there if I feel like pulled to, and the rest I don't do anymore. Um, what else? I'm just looking at my notes here. If you're watching the video on YouTube, I chopped my hair in April. I've had it short like this before, but I felt a desire to just chop it. I got new glasses, so it's just like I just feel like I've shifted into kind of a new era, and I'm still kind of living into it and fully embracing it, but um Yeah, I think others can relate to when you've just gone through something or you've done some healing and you just feel like you feel an internal shift and it feels like you need a little bit of a an external one to match it. So that's kind of part of my journey over the last few months. Um, one of the other things I wrote here with doing the spiritual coach training program with the experience and just evolution of my own being, um, I've been very curious over the last while actually, and then this season just allowed me to fully embrace it because I didn't make anything wrong. I wasn't forcing myself to do anything that didn't feel right, and I just wanted to stop just to reevaluate everything as I've just talked about, realizing that I was kind of in a winter season, like figuratively, um, and just needing to kind of lay low and reflect and move through that deep healing, like I've been buried under the ground. And recently, I'm kind of coming back up. Like I'm into a spring. I would say I'm even moving into a summer where I have more energy and I'm ready to take action on things. So I had to kind of go through and just embrace the kind of metaphorical season that I was in, energetically, spiritually, mentally, physically. And that is part of the work that I'm moving into, which I'm super excited to talk about at the end of this episode. But just embracing where I'm at, not making it wrong. That was something I really needed to unlearn. So a lot of this 6 months was being unlearning the things that no longer serve me, healing them, loving them, but then deciding like what is actually right for me and what do I follow? And the biggest part has been my intuition. I've always had a relationship with my intuition. I've always been intuitive, but I've allowed over the last few years a lot of external noise to kind of drown it out in certain ways and be pulled towards taking action in ways that doesn't feel authentic to me and sometimes compromises my own values. So part of the distance was stepping back and reconnecting with my values and am I acting in alignment with my internal my values and what feels good internally. Um one of the things I've been up to in the spring, okay, so I've been wanting to do a retreat for a long time. I envisioned it years ago. I thought that I was gonna maybe collab with my dad. This was before he passed away because he used to host seminars and stuff, which was super cool. So like for years I've been thinking about it and kind of dreaming about it a little bit, but I didn't know what it was gonna look like and kind of threw it to the back burner for a long time. In the spring I kind of made it happen. Low key, it was kind of like an experiment. I had four girlfriends join me. I rented an Airbnb in the woods in this little cabin thing. It was so well, it was like an apartment attached to the where the owners live, but it was in the woods. It's just the coolest place. And I planned some activities, some practices. We did a Wim swim, so I led them through a cold water dip, the breath work and stuff like that. Well, we used the Wim Hof app. So Wim led us through the breath work. And I kind of the vibe for me was like intuitive development. It was also, I think it was a full moon. So we had a campfire, did some full moon kind of ritual stuff. We put some water under the full moon and just some kind of like witchy fun stuff. Super cool, some intuitive practices. It was really interesting what came through and helping just to kind of introduce the women to learning how their intuition works and how they pick up information intuitively and how to kind of work with it and to start building trust. So it was just lots of fun. There was no pressure. We were all just most of them were kind of felt they would say they were newbies. I feel they're all very gifted, but allowing them a safe space to just kind of get curious and playful and just kind of see what happens. We had a lot of fun. We bonded. It was a beautiful weekend. There was laughter, there was tears, there was healing. It was really lovely. I had a practitioner for it's called TRE, tension and trauma release exercises. So I had Katie from California. We did a Zoom session. She led us through some TRE, like a TRE session, which was super beautiful. And yeah, that weekend was it was incredible. It it allowed me a safe because it was small and intimate and friends, close friends. It felt very safe for me to get outside of my comfort zone and lead while not being like too hectic on the nervous system. So while it did feel scary and big and new, it still had a safety because it was people that I knew and loved and trust. So there was it allowed me to kind of spread my wings a little bit. And I realized after that weekend that I want to do this more. So it's it's gonna be a thing, and I'll talk about it at the end. The other thing that I noticed doing this work and just taking the step back and what just came to me is a reminder of my word of the year is simplify. And whether I'm thinking about it consciously or not, it seems to be like an honest vibe for this whole year. It's just kind of things that it's ways that I'm leaning and when you think about just me completely stopping all of the things, patterns and stuff that I've been doing for years to take a step back and realize like what am I doing here and why am I doing it and should I keep doing it or do I want to keep doing it? That was part of the simplification. I do feel like things have simplified over the last 6 months. There's things that I'm not putting my energy into anymore that was really taking energy from me. And I'm starting to feed energy through things that really light me up and give me energy back. That's why I think when you're following like soul pulls and doing work that you're intuitively led towards, you will have energy for it. It won't take energy from you. Sometimes you feel those like those little inklings like something's coming, you can feel it, but if you don't have the energy for it, that's okay. Just know that like something's kind of brewing in the background energetically, and when it's time, it's hit go, right? And that for me is today with recording the podcast episode. I've been thinking about it for a while and like, okay, I want to do this, but I'd come home and it's like I'm so exhausted. It's like, well, I don't want to show up from a place of exhaustion. I want to do it on a day that I just feel great and I have like energy to give and I hope you feel it and overflow, really. So with the work that I've been doing, the self-healing, the release work of releasing patterns and just letting go of things, I've noticed that I have more capacity energetically, mentally, physically for things that I haven't touched in years. And the big example here is I'm back pickling and canning this year. Now I did maybe 4 jars of dills last year because we didn't have any left. We were all out. I have this jam, like we call it the Gilhula jam cupboard, and it actually used to be in my dad's room when he was a kid, and I'm sure he put his clothes and whatnot in there. But now it's in our kitchen, and it's where I put all my canning stuff. And it used to be in the kitchen in my childhood home. It had all like papers, and it was just kind of like a stationary thing. But it's like the Gilhula jam cupboard. And when I started canning in like 20, I think my first year was 2017, my grandma taught me some stuff, but I really got into it in like 2019. So I think that was the first year I had maybe had a garden. I had a garden for 2 or 3 years, like a big veggie garden behind our house, behind our backyard. Ton of canning. I had that thing full. Like it was impressive. And then COVID hit. I was still doing some canning, but I wasn't giving it away like I had been before because we weren't seeing people for so long, right? And then I just kind of forgot that I used to do that. So I do have some stuff I pulled out the other day. I was doing like a purge and reorganizing the cupboard so that I can put my new stuff in and just have it nice and organized. So I pulled out all the stuff that's like can't eat it anymore. I'm gonna have to just dump it, unfortunately. But um just having the energy, having the like nervous system capacity, especially in the summer when I've been working a lot of overtime and just normal shifts. I've been training to like kind of previous to now, the idea of it would overwhelm me. It's like, no way in hell do I have the energy or capacity to do any canning. Now, I have to say, my mom came and helped me. It made it a whole lot easier because it's like half the work, right? We're both like prepping we did dill pickles, bread and butter pickles, and then I did 9-day like sweet pickles or icicle pickles, if you've heard of that. So you have to do something every day for like 8, 9 days, and she came down to help me. And I also helped her with her bread and butter pickles. She did the dills on her own because I was working, but collectively, we did 3 batches of 11 quart batches of pickles or cukes, and then a 6 quart was my no, that was her bread and butter. So we processed a lot of cucumbers. But it was nice to stock up, and then if I want to give some as a gift for Christmas or whatever, I'm good that way because it's always nice when you're just in a pinch and it's like, oh, just grab like a jar of pickles, homemade pickles, and people love that. I have some fruit still in the freezer. I'll do some jam this fall. But I mean, it's been in there. I've had stuff in the freezer. I've had tomatoes, and it's just like I couldn't even the idea, I couldn't. It was just like, no, I can't do it. I just have no energy, no gumption. So that's one observation that I've made through this kind of process of letting go what is not feeding my energy and embracing what does. And it's created room, capacity to do some of the things that really lights me up. And while pickling is exhausting and I was doing it in between working and all of the things, I still was like, I felt like I could do it. And basically since my dad passed away in 2022, I hadn't done any pickling aside from like the 4 jars last year, which wasn't a whole lot of work. So, um, that's a big win for me because I've done a lot of pickling and canning and preserving over the last few years. That going on like a 3, 4 year hiatus. It feels really good to be back, and that's just proof to me in the physical and the external of how this internal work allows us to expand and have energy for the things that we really love and maybe have put off because we weren't feeling up to it. Now, I think that more or less sums up the last 6 months. I could go deeper, but I think I'll just I'll try and keep this episode relatively short. I'll move forward into what's coming up. And if you have any questions you want me to talk more about, what I talked about today, I'm happy to go into more depth. I'm sure I'll be talking about it as I kind of get into podcasting again. I have ideas for people I want to bring onto the podcast and have chats with. That was one of those other things. It's like it's like a seed. Sometimes when you get those intuitive nudges, they're like little seeds. And with kind of I would say at least Western society and just like the hustle mentality, we're taught with manifestation and all that stuff. When you get an idea, immediately act on it. And what I've learned, especially over the last 6 months, learning these spiritual concepts, putting them to work, and really seeing how to move through them and what the results are, I've learned that just because I get an intuitive hit doesn't mean it's time to act on it right away. Some are, but the difference is I'll get an idea and then I'll ask myself like how does that look? Because sometimes I don't see kind of the bigger picture or like enough that I know exactly what to do at that time, I'll just get a little inkling of like, okay, that's a cool idea, but I don't know enough about it to then take action. And the other piece of it is that sounds really cool, but like I'm so tired right now. I do not, is that it's not going to feed my energy, it's going to take it. So I know at that point that it's like sowing a seed into the earth. There's an idea, I'm planting it and I'm letting it germinate. I'm letting it do its thing underground behind the scenes until it starts to kind of peek up through the earth. I see things a lot now. I see things through metaphor sometimes when I'm learning or explaining things. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, I've been really leaning into like cycles and seasons, and I'm observing Mother Nature, and I'm leaning in, and I'm kind of leading my life or starting to. It's becoming more of a lifestyle in alignment with the patterns and cycles that I see in nature. So this idea gets planted, and I don't feel any pressure to take action on it because I don't know what action to take. And I believe, and I've been taught that when we have intuitive pulls, when it's time to take action on it, we'll know. We're not going to know all the steps. That's not how it works. We get one step. We we get the first step, action the first step, and then it's like you get the stepping stones that lead you. You're not necessarily sure where it's going to lead you, but you just know that next step to take. And when you have the energy and the capacity to take that step, and then you'll see the next thing. So for me, I knew about next step. My first step to get back into this was to do a podcast episode. So I'm taking this action right now. I don't know where it's going to lead, but I'm just taking the step knowing that it is the right step and that I have the energy for it, and we'll see what comes next. Um, so I feel like I just went on a bit of a side tangent. It totally did. I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah, that's been one of the kind of big themes for me is taking that aligned action and observing Mother Nature. So coming up, let's talk about it. I have two things I'm going to do that are in alignment. Actually, they're based around cycles and seasons. So on September 21st, one's going to be online, one's going to be in person. So depending on if you live near me, it may be available or not available to you. That's why it's lovely that I have two things going on because one is an online gathering. So anyone who can't can join us here. There is a new moon eclipse on September 21st. So I'm going to do an online workshop. I was thinking about doing it in the afternoon, Eastern time. It's on a Sunday, if I didn't say that already. Um, I'm still debating that. So it's either going to be in the afternoon because the eclipse time is at it's at like 3, I think it's like 3:54 p.m. So I was going to start at 3, do it like 3 to 4-ish. Um, meditation, some cord cutting, stuff like that. Just kind of like leaning into the vibe of what this new moon eclipse is. And that's going to be 33 Canadian to join me and to move through some work, some release work. And yeah, because normally with a new moon, the vibe is like that's where you set your intentions for the next 28-day moon cycle. However, when there's an eclipse, the I'm like blanking on I think it's does the moon go in front of the sun? I think. We won't, at least not in North America. I think in Australia they'll be able to see it, the actual like because it's a solar eclipse that happens with a new moon because the moon isn't visible to us. So it must go in front of the sun, I think, right? Now I'm questioning myself. Anyway, the kind of energy behind that is it it's what's the word? I still have some brain fog from the busy summer because we yesterday was like the last day and I actually worked overtime. It will project energy on what would normally be the new moon. So it's not recommended to do kind of manifestation or intention setting, it's actually better to do release work because it's the energy is more aligned with a full moon, which is like big energy release work, letting go of things, preparing for that's related to that new moon cycle. Whatever you need to let go of from that was building up from your intent, the intentions that you set. So we're gonna do just the whole thing online together. It's gonna be lovely. I can already just feel that it's gonna be very nourishing. And the next day, so it's cool that it's like 2 days in a row, is the autumn equinox. So equinox being equal light. So equal light, equal darkness. That's going to be an in-person thing. We're going to get together. I've got some plans for it. I was thinking of making like some soup and some apple crisp and just kind of, this is about embracing going into that winter, that slower season. It's like winding down. So the workshop or the gathering is I titled it Winding Down. So it's when we kind of start to look at how we're balancing things because you think like equal light, equal dark. We use nature to look at our own life, balancing things to keep things equal and winding down going into that winter season, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. That's going to be Monday, September 22nd. I think it'll be in the evening because then we'll kind of like embrace that sunset. We'll have a campfire. I'll bring some nourishing goodies. I'm still finalizing everything. This is literally the first that I've talked about it like to the masses. I have a couple graphics created from Canva, so I'm going to release that with this podcast episode. But this is kind of where I'm going. And as I've said, those intuitive hits, they kind of like you don't always have like the big picture, right? So this is how what I've been leaning into and feeling is yeah, maybe some soup. I'll put some in a crock pot. I've got a I don't have a fireplace like a fire pit at my house, but I've got an idea and we can all gather, bring some chairs, gather around the campfire set some intentions for winding down. What are we also releasing? And then we're gonna burn it in the campfire and just like have some nourishing, maybe some hot apple cider, some apple crisp, and I think soup would be good too. So we can have a little bit of like a late dinner and enjoy the sunset and embrace winding down into that quiet season and really lean into what that means for us. That's going to be 55 Canadian to gather for a couple hours with the goodies and such. We'll also do a meditation and whatever else comes to me before then to kind of lean into what we need. And sometimes, depending on like who joins us, I'll pick up on kind of collectively whatever that group needs the most is I'll know what we need to do and what types of activities we need to do. But it's got some nourishing vibes. Now, if you're interested in both, you can do a bundle and save a little bit. It'll be 77 instead of the 88. Yeah, so I'll be posting more about that soon. Actually, as soon as I post this and then kind of leading up to it, I'll give you a little sneak peek because I don't want to, it's like I want to talk about it, but at the same time, I don't want to throw too much out there because then it's like, wait, what? Which one's which? And I don't want to put too many things, too many offers out at the same time. So I'm going to start with the new moon eclipse and the autumn equinox, but I can tell you I am planning a winter solstice retreat. It'll be my first like official retreat. It came to me beginning of August. I did like a big brain dump. I knew what days because I want to do it around the actual solstice, which is a Sunday. So I added an extra night. So for anyone who wants to like fully embrace it, because I have the Airbnb picked out. Excuse me, I need to sneeze. Oh, bless me. And I wanted to just be able to have like the whole day to kind of do things and then we can leave the next day, or anyone who at least needs to leave that day to get ready for Monday work can leave in the afternoon where you don't have to like check out before noon or whatever. So I've been looking at that. There's going to be very limited spots. It's going to be very intimate because this is the first one I'm really kind of running because in the spring it was kind of like a girls' weekend, right? Intuitive development, kind of witchy vibes, but we all brought food. Each person kind of did a meal, so it was like kind of a collective thing. This one, like I'm leading the whole thing. So for my first one, I don't want to do like a big thing and overwhelm myself and quit behind my own back kind of thing. So it has to nourish my own nervous system, still be stepping into the unknown, a little bit scary. That's normal and that's how we expand, right? But in a way that's still like I can still handle it. And then we'll see how it goes and then I'll start doing bigger things. But that's going to be coming up. So if that interests you and you live near me, keep an eye out for that or message me if you have questions. So anywho, I'm going to finish this episode. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm very excited for this next chapter that I'm in to share more. And yeah, it's been a big 7 months and I'm only beginning with where I'm going. I know that the energy's big and I'm just following the breadcrumbs. So I hope everyone's doing well. I'm sending you all love if you need some big hugs. And I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye everyone.